You need that rent assistance, but what's going to happen with it? Will it get approved in a second stimulus package? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one about rent assistance. That big program under the HEROES Act currently in the Senate from the House that proposes to give you a lot of money to protect you from eviction, protect property owners from losing their homes, and protect landlords from losing their apartment buildings during the pandemic. Big news and confusing news today coming out of Congress. As you know, that proposal that I just referred to was written by Democrats. It landed in this House, in the Senate weeks ago. And the Republicans were supposed to debut their approach and their response to rent assistance in a second stimulus package a week ago today. They didn't. Come last Monday, they still didn't do it. Even yesterday on Thursday, I said at 1 o'clock I was recording and that Steve Mnuchin and Mitch McConnell said that they were promising to release it by the end of today. They did not. Ironically, an Alabama Republican said those two groups are not going to release anything. It'll be next Monday. Well, minutes ago, the White House issued a new statement that says it'll be next Monday. So where are the Republicans landing on a second stimulus check package for purposes of rent assistance? Well, minutes ago, details of what could be in the Republicans' second stimulus package was leaked to press. This is not an official statement. It is not something from Steve Mnuchin on the record. It is not anything coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. It is a leaked statement. And nowhere in there is rent assistance. Nowhere in there is rent eviction moratoriums. Nowhere in there is loan forgiveness forbearance or more foreclosure protections. Nowhere in there is anything talking about rent. Now, yesterday there was a leaked memo that said that states would be provided millions, if not billions of dollars from the federal government that they could allocate accordingly. And that certainly falls within the purview of what governors, senators, mayors have been lobbying Congress for under a second stimulus package for purposes of rent assistance. But it doesn't say rent assistance in the actual words. So what the hell is going on, LALATE? Well, let me get right to it. Basically, there are two types of rent assistance programs that would come out in a second stimulus package. And so far, we have seen neither from the Republicans by words or by sentences. The Democrats propose it come two ways. First, a grant program. This is a grant program in which you as a tenant would apply to the federal government, listing your landlord, saying, I need assistance, give me money. You would get paid, the federal government would pay the landlord your rent for several months. Then you would do the same thing with your utility company. The federal government would pay your utility company. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. You would not be thrown out on the street. It's great because your rent would get paid. It's great because the landlord would get their income. It's great because the banks would not foreclose upon the landlord. Everyone in the food chain is happy, punky-dory. It's also really good because it's streamlined. The money would come right to the federal government, to the landlord. So there's nothing you would have to do on a regular basis. There were also other protections under that package, which were protections against people losing properties. So in addition, not only would there be a protection that no evictions could be done during the pandemic, you could not be evicted. There were provisions that said no landlord could have a foreclosure against their property. So a bank could not foreclose upon an apartment building. And if you own your house, and you have a mortgage, you can't make the mortgage, your lender can't foreclose against you as well. Everyone is protected. It's just great. Now, there's other proposals that are similarly tracking that are also on the Senate floor, and one is from Elizabeth Warren. It's a little bit more comprehensive. It provides a lot more money. It provides protections further into 2021. But it works similarly the same way. And then there's the Republicans. Hello? Nothing. We don't have it yet. And so what we have leaked today was some statements about what Republicans may have in a second stimulus package. No mention of hazard pay, no mention of rent assistance. Yesterday we had other leaks that said, well, they want to give the states a lot of money. That is good because the second type of rent assistance is what's going on now. Under the first stimulus package, states lobbied Congress for money that they could pay their citizens for things like rent. New York is doing that right now. Los Angeles did last week. They're giving grants out to citizens who can't make rent. That money came from the first stimulus package. So the leaked memos yesterday suggest the Republicans are going to include that type of language as well, but not an actual grant program. They're going to leave it up to the states to do it. Not particularly reassuring. Here comes LALATE's rant. What's really troubling is the following. Mitch McConnell has said that he's not going to tell you what's in the second stimulus package. You're going to have to wait. But he has actually said one thing that he absolutely is going to have in the second stimulus package. And if you followed him and tracked him, he has literally said this every single week since the first stimulus package. That line is he's going to have a provision in there that you cannot sue business owners or property owners for things that happen in those buildings due to the pandemic. Okay, so he's sitting back and thinking about the landlord, thinking about the property owner, and thinking about you suing them when you barely can make rent. I mean, tenants are not suing people at the moment, Mitch. They're fearing being evicted and thrown out on the street. You think do you think they're all lining up and getting lawyers? No. So Mitch thinks that all these people who are about to be thrown out on the street because they can't make rent are lining up to sue their landlords because of hazardous conditions. And so he wants to protect the landlords against those hazardous conditions. And he actually issued a news statement about it yesterday. He said that he wants a provision that would protect the property owners and landlords from being sued for anything but gross negligent or intentional misconduct. Namely, that unless the landlord intentionally hurt you as a tenant, you can't sue them. How out of touch is that? It's really out of touch because ultimately we're talking about an economic catastrophe on our hands. We're talking about a financial cliff. And among the issues of the financial cliff is people not being able to make rent. And we're sitting here and the most urgent situation is unemployment benefits, unable to make rent, hazard pay, and stimulus checks. And Mitch McConnell seems to not grasp that people are being thrown out on the street in record numbers. New data revealed just last week that said that the eviction rate in the country is at record levels that has never been seen. 20 to 40 million new cases in just a few weeks compared to the recession numbers of the Great Recession, which was 10 million over several years. So people are being thrown out in a record number. We also have the disparity among states. Half of the states don't have eviction moratoriums. So a lot of states are literally evicting people by the minute. I mean, they're just evicting people. I see your comments on a regular basis. You're facing eviction. You are worried you're not going to make rent. You are either on the street, heading to go on the street, or worry you will be on the street soon. And here's Mitch McConnell saying, I'm going to protect the landlords so you can't sue them unless they do something intentional to you. I mean, what is going on here? What is going on here? Ultimately, the White House has said they're unhappy. I think the White House is unhappy with Mitch. The White House said that they were going to debut the second stimulus package written by the Republicans last Monday. But minutes ago in a news statement obtained by LALATE, they said the White House says, we're not ready. We are going to work on it and release it on Monday. Ironically, an Alabama Republican said that's exactly what he had heard, that the White House is really not agreeing with someone. Guess who they're not agreeing with? It's a guy from Kentucky. The Democrats are irate, and the Democrats said that we were going to work on this over the weekend, get this done, and fast track this, and now we have nothing because we have no bill from the Republicans. Now, there's a flip side to that, and this flip side is the following. The Republicans said we want to piecemeal and do individual bills at a time. We want to get a bill out for schools, we want to get a bill out for the stimulus check, and we want to get a bill out for unemployment right away. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem that issue is there should also be a bill about rent assistance, or at least issue an eviction moratorium right away. Prevent people from being evicted on a national level right away, and then deal with how you're going to do the grants in a day or two from now. but they didn't. The other side of that is that the Democrats pushed back and said, no, we're not going to piecemeal. We're going to do this all as one package. And if we're here to August 10th, then we wait to August 10th. I don't like that from the Democrats. The Democrats want you to sit around and hope you don't get evicted by August 10th when the Republicans want to really fast-track some things. So what's wrong with fast-tracking an individual bill about rent assistance? Ultimately, what I've advised you is the following, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I'm not going to put you in calamity's way, is that if you're fearing that you're not able to make rent in the next 2 weeks, then please immediately start looking for grant programs in your city. I've been saying that message now almost every day for the last 2 weeks. There are grant programs out there for your city, your county, your state, for your place of worship, and for other things that you share a commonality with. New York launched one last week. LA had one for several weeks. Ultimately, these programs could give you the relief in the next couple of weeks while those people in Congress can't get their act together, because I don't want you on the street. I care for you, and it is of utmost importance that you are not displaced. And so if you are a viewer, and I've said this yesterday and I saw incredible comments, please keep it up, because the spirit of this channel is helping one another. If you don't have access to a computer, if you don't have access to Wi-Fi, if you don't have a sophisticated cell phone, and don't know if there's grant programs for rent in your area, just post a comment saying, hi, I'm in Houston. Can someone look up if there's a grant program for Houston? And if someone else sees that comment who does have access to a computer, does have access to a Wi-Fi, and can Google that for that person, and then reply back to them, I've looked up in Houston, here's my answer for you. That's the spirit of this channel. The spirit of this channel is helping one another, not being divisive, not fighting against one another. Today we're passing 100,000 subscribers, and it's because we help one another. It's a commonality to get through this pandemic as one force, not 20 forces or 35 forces or, people on vacation with their Mai Tai and their feet in the jacuzzi. Ultimately, I want you to stay focused, stay motivated, stay positive, because rent is really not a good situation. And what I want you to do also is look up if there are eviction moratoriums in your state or county or city. They are different in some states. Some states have a statewide moratorium, meaning they cannot evict you. Other states, like, for example, Missouri, don't have it on a state level basis. They do it county by county or city by city, so you have to look up individual locations. I want you to educate yourself, because if there is an eviction moratorium, meaning you cannot be evicted, that's a saving grace while we wait for those people in Congress to get their act together and pass this bill. But if there's not an eviction moratorium, that's my concern. As always, I want you to stay positive. I want you to stay focused, motivated, educated, smiling, and stay with LA for more.